I'm William, this is Sharr, and this is Will and Share in the Face of Truth because we are willing to share the truth with you. We are here tonight and we're going to do our history on a young lady, well, an old lady just passed, but a lady by the name of Ella Baker. And we're going to ask Sharr to give that history and we'll dialogue together. And then I'm going to be speaking about the gerrymandering of the southern states that is going on. And we are going to discuss that. And then we have an announcement at the end that we're going to give to you. So we got a lot to cover. So we are going to turn it over to Sharr. And we are going to be giving our history lesson tonight for our young people. This is our show of trying to educate our America and also our black people as well, especially our young black men and women and our children, since they're trying to erase black history from the face of the earth here in America. We're going to bring it back and we are going to teach it. And each week we feature someone that we want our children and our young people to know about.
Yes.
And then we're going to, of course, talk about current events and get the information out for this midterm that's coming up in November. We want you to be informed, especially us black people, to be informed as they go into the voting booth, Lord willing, in November. So here is Sharr with our history person of the week, Ella Baker.
Thank you,
And
Will.
just to let y'all know, when I'm off on the side here, it's because I'm looking at the comments in case we need to comment on them. I'm not ignoring Sharr and being disengaged. I'm just have my computer over here with our show pulled up so we can see our comments and address our comments to you. Okay? Go ahead, Sharr.
Hi, everybody. As my husband already said, and welcome to our show in the Face of Truth tonight on this Thursday. We are glad that you are joining in with us. Again, we're going to be learning about Ella Baker tonight, so I'm going to get right to who Ella Baker was. Okay, so welcome everybody, and we ask that you leave your comments. If you want to put something up that you just want to make us aware of as well, you can do that. But we ask that you do be respectful in your comments, or we will have to delete you off of here. Okay, so thanks for joining us tonight. So who was Ella Baker? Ella Baker was one of the most important and often overlooked leaders of the American Civil Rights Movement. Rather than becoming the public face of the movement herself, she believed ordinary people working together could create lasting change. She spent decades organizing behind the scenes, mentoring young activists, building grassroots movements, and helping shape organizations that transform American history. Her early life, Ella Baker was born in 1903 in Norfolk, Virginia, and grew up in North Carolina during the era of Jim Crow segregation. And she was deeply influenced by stories from her grandmother, who had been enslaved and resisted the brutality of slavery. Those stories shaped Baker's lifelong belief that Black people should fight oppression collectively and refuse to accept injustice as normal. She graduated from Sharr University in 1927 and became active in social justice, organizing during the Great Depression. Her role in the civil rights movement. Unlike many famous leaders of the era, Baker focused less on speeches and more on building organizations and empowering local communities. She worked with the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or the SCLC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committees. And she traveled across the South, helping Black communities organize voter registration drives, protests, and local leadership networks. Okay? Her philosophy was, strong people don't need strong leaders. One of Baker's most famous beliefs was that movement should not depend on a single charismatic figure. She believed everyday people had the power to lead. Communities understood their own needs best. Leadership should be shared and not controlled from the top. Young people should be trusted to organize and act. This sometimes put her at odds with more hierarchical leadership styles within parts of the movement. Her philosophy strongly influenced younger activists in SNCC, many of whom later became major figures in civil rights, voting rights, and Black political movements. Founding SNCC after the 1960 sit-ins by Black college students across the South, Baker organized a meeting at Sharr University that helped create SNCC. SNCC became one of the boldest organizations in the movement. Members organized sit-ins, joined freedom rides, registered Black voters in dangerous areas. They faced arrests, beatings, and murders. It says that she also helped expose violent segregation to the world, and young activists such as John Lewis and Diane Nash were influenced by Baker's organizing philosophy. Why Ella Baker matters? Ella Baker matters. Impact is enormous because she helped create the structure beneath the movement, the organizing networks, local leadership, and community power that sustain long-term struggle. Now I'm going to stop right there and see if Will's got something that he wants to add to what I brought out about Ella Baker.
She was born, as you said, on December the 13th, 1903. And ironically, she passed away on her birthday, December 13th in 1986. She was born in Norfolk, Virginia, to a Georgian named Anna. And her father was worked on a steamship. Wow. At the time. So at the time that she was born, her father was not around very much because he was traveling on a steamship going out of Norfolk. So it said that she didn't really have a lot of influence when she was younger. Her parents, I think her mother's parents or one of her grandparents were far away. Her grandfather, he died when she was young, so she did listen to her grandmother. Yes. Okay, her father's parents lived a day's ride away. Her other grandfather from her mother's side, Metro, had died. And so she had listened to her grandmother, okay, and she listened to her tell stories about the slavery and leaving the South and to escape oppressive society was in her mind after she was hearing that. So that got into her at an early part of her life. Mm-hmm. So she, from the very beginning, had made a determination in her mind that she was going to escape that oppression and do something. And that's what molded and shaped her, as well as she grew up. Of course, Sharr just said that she had other influences in her life.
I love that part about Ella Baker, Will. The fact that she had her grandmother that had went through a lot of the oppression and whatnot have you, and how that she listened to her grandmother and the things that her grandmother faced, and so that caused her to get involved in the civil rights movement, that caused her to have a passion to try to help change the narrative during that time of African American people or Black people being suppressed in the voting booth and other different kind of ways and what have you. So she was very, 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 on fire for what she believed in when it came to trying to change those narratives back during that time. And we today, as you can see, are back at square one. And
unfortunately. Yeah,
unfortunately. And Will is going to talk on that a little bit in our current event today, okay?
So we also want to say hi, Sharr, to Alexander Batiska, and to Grandmaster D1B.
Hi,
They
everybody.
are
Welcome.
here in the house with us tonight. Welcome.
Yes. All right, so we're going to read on a little bit more. It says many historians now see her as one of the architects of modern grassroots activism. And again, we're talking about Ella Baker, okay? Her ideas continue to influence voting rights organizing, community activism, student movements, grassroots political campaigns, and modern racial justice movements. Both Ella Baker and Martin Luther King Jr. wanted black freedom, voting rights, dignity, and an end to segregation. But they believed change should happen in very different ways. So we're going to touch on that in just a second. Ella Baker versus Martin Luther King Jr. Her leadership style believed ordinary people, especially poor black students, maids, farmers, church members, and workers, should organize themselves and make decisions together. Okay? She distrusted movements built around one charismatic figure. She worried that if movements depended too much on famous leaders, people would stay followers instead of becoming empowered themselves. Her philosophy was build local leadership, teach people how to organize, share power, let communities decide their own direction, and she often worked quietly behind the scenes rather than speaking in the spotlight. Martin Luther King Jr.'s take on it was moral and inspirational leadership. Dr. King believed in mass mobilization through powerful speeches, public demonstrations, national attention, Christian moral witness, nonviolent confrontation, and he became the face of the movement because he could inspire millions and pressure the federal government through media attention and moral force. King accepted centralized leadership more than Baker did. Organizations connected to him often had clearer top-down structures. Their biggest difference: Baker believed a movement should outlive any single leader. King believed powerful leadership could awaken the conscience of the nation. In practice, King became a national symbol, and Baker focused on grassroots organizing in local communities. They respected each other, but Baker sometimes criticized the Messiah model surrounding King and other male ministers. Okay? And so that's the difference between Baker and Dr. King. Okay? Even though she respected him, she had a different viewpoint, Will, as far as how things should be done when it came to mobilizing, when it came to getting people together to stand up and fight for the same purpose and the same vision. She just felt like it needed to go a different way instead of one person getting all the recognition. Okay, that everybody played an important role. And it's true, everybody does play an important role when you're trying to get people together in a movement. But you do got to have some type of structure. I kind of look at it in Dr. Martin Luther King, where you got to have some type of structure. You got to have at least a person or a couple of people that can stand up and do speeches. It's not just only the grassroots things that need to be taken care of on the ground, but it's also the things that are upward that need to be taken care of as well. And so, like I said, even though they might have clashed in that area, they were still able to work together and respect one another's viewpoints from that point.
And
Okay?
I don't think that Martin Luther King viewed himself as a Messiah.
No, he did not.
But somebody had to be a leader.
That's right.
You know, in her scenario, children of Israel would still be out there wandering.
Exactly.
Because there would be no leader. Somebody has to lead.
Yes.
There has to be a leader in what you do. And I think, and nobody, who else was going to step up? Nobody was there. And he put his life on the line.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what did they do?
Well, they all
You know,
did,
what
really.
are others? But he put his life, well, he died for it.
Yeah.
Okay, and those that are still, so saying that the movement has to be, I think the movement did still go on.
Yes, it did.
But now, I think now it has dropped the ball. Not because of Martin Luther King, but because of this generation today. So no, she has the right to cry. I'm just saying there is both sides
Yes,
of
two
the story.
sides,
Yeah,
yeah.
but somebody has to lead.
I agree.
What were they going to do? They had to have somebody lead, and he's the one that went there and pushed it in Washington to get them to sign those Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, and the Voting Rights Act.
Yes.
That's just me.
Well, one thing about when people come together, especially our people, I'll say our black people, when we come together, you do have pushback from your own people, you know, that may be working alongside of you, you know, and that's in any organizing pretty much anything, right? Because sometimes we allow our strong wills to overtake our passion for what it is we all are coming together on. And I think that's probably where Ella Baker kind of went. She kind of allowed her ideas to overtake the focus of what she was actually doing, and that was to be working together. We must learn how to work together, especially at this time where we're at in our world, in our society, and with this government today. We got to learn how to work aside one another. We can have our differences, but we shouldn't fall out about the differences. Okay, and we have to respect one another's differences. Amen. Suggestions or whatever it might be, but we need, and this is one of the things I wrote in our 3 things to remember, we need all hands on deck. It takes everybody doing their part. Find your little part, whether it's behind the scenes, whether it's the forefront, whether it's in the trenches, and do your part. Let's get this thing done, because they are trying to steal our voting rights. They have taken away our I don't know if they took them completely away. It's alleged that they took away our civil rights in this country, and that is wrong. Okay. And so that's why we come out and we teach about the history, and then we go into and try to bring out, you know, where our stance is on what's going on. And we say to the President of the United States, we say to this administration that what they are doing to African American people and black people in this country is definitely wrong. In the eyesight of God, it's wrong, and it's wrong for society to try to overrun a different group of people because they don't look like you, or because they're not the same color as you are. Who made you the head? It truly was not God. He didn't make y'all the head. He said that we were all created equal in his sight. Okay. And so how, you know, this white nationalist Project 2025, Stephen Miller and all the rest of them think that they're better than the rest of the people because you're millionaires, that makes you better than anybody else? No, it does not.
Like they're better because of the color of the skin.
Exactly, right. So yeah, no, you're not the head. God is the only head over humanity. He made all of us, okay? If you go to Genesis, I believe it's the 3rd chapter or the 1st chapter, he said that he made man in his image and after his likeness. And not only did he make man, but he made woman, okay? And so that doesn't give you the right to think that you can, you know, step in the shoes of God and try to be better than other people, or try to suppress other people or oppress other people because your skin is white, you know? So just have to put that out there.
Add that she, if I may, that she did attend Sharr University in Raleigh, North Carolina, and graduated with valedictorian honors. And decades later, she returned to Sharr to help find SNCC, as you mentioned. I wanted to point out she worked as an editorial assistant at the Negro National News.
Yes.
And she also worked for the Workers' Education Project of the Works Project Association, established under President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. She taught courses in consumer education, labor history, African history. She immersed herself in the cultural and political milieu of Harlem in the 1930s, protesting Italy's invasion of Ethiopia and supporting the campaign to free the Scottsboro defendants. Those were 17 black men that were falsely accused in Alabama. And she also founded the Negro History Club at the Harlem Library and regularly attended lectures and meetings at the YWCA.
That's very good. Very informative.
So go ahead. So share.
Okay. All right. How this SNCC was different. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, or SNCC for short, was deeply influenced by Ella Baker. In 1960, After the student sit-ins spread across the South, Baker helped organize a meeting at Shaw University. Many older leaders wanted the students absorbed into existing organizations, but Baker pushed the students to form their own independent movement, which became known as the SNCC. And see, we have that same thing today where you have that age gap with the groups. And so she was trying to work alongside the young people, okay, to help them to form, be able to speak out for themselves and be able to stand up for themselves and do different things to help in the movement. And I understand that, but we have to learn how to pull together, even though we have different age groups. The younger can learn from the older can learn from the younger, okay? So how SNCC operated day to day. SNCC was less formal and more democratic than many civil rights groups. One, field organizers lived with local people. SNCC workers often lived in Black communities and stayed with local families and ate with them. They went to church with them. They helped organize meetings. This was dangerous work, as workers were beaten, jailed, threatened, and sometimes murdered. But SNCC believed trust came from living alongside the people, not parachuting in for speeches. Meetings were collective. Unlike organizations centered around one leader, SNCC meetings could last for hours because everyone was encouraged to speak. Young organizers debated strategy, tactics, risks, and goals. This could be messy and slow, but it reflected Baker's belief in participatory democracy, and people often sat in circles rather than rigid hierarchies. Local people led campaigns. SNCC did not want outsiders controlling communities. Instead of saying, "We will save you," SNCC organizers tried to ask, what do local people need? Who are the local leaders? What risks are people willing to take? Their role was often to train and support local leadership. Freedom schools. During efforts like the Freedom Summer, SNCC helped run freedom schools where students learn Black history, constitutional rights, political organizing, literacy, critical thinking, and the goal was not just protest, it was building political consciousness and confidence. We have a lot to do, y'all, because there's certain things that our kids are not going to learn in school. And I kind of, take on what she did because she was trying to educate, okay, the younger generation so that there would be a generation coming up behind the older people that could carry on the movements that they were trying to get going or get started, okay, in regards to voting rights, in regards to our civil rights, okay? And this is where we see a generation today that don't care. They don't care about getting out to go vote. They feel like our voting, doesn't do anything. And that's not true. This is how this administration and government wants us to think that the Black vote does not matter. But as somebody said, and I'm going to repeat what they said, if our vote did not matter, why have they been fighting against us to stop our vote all down through the years? Not just this year in 2026. This is a fight, an ongoing fight that's been going on against African American people in this country. Just stop the vote, the Black vote. And so if our vote wasn't important, why are they fighting us so hard to stop it? Okay? So voting rights organizing, this is another thing that they did with the SNCC workers. They went county by county trying to register Black voters despite literacy tests, terror, economic retaliation, violence from white supremacists. In places like Mississippi Delta, simply attempting to register could cost someone their job, their home, or even their life. SNCC helped ordinary people challenge that system directly. Young leadership. SNCC was youth-driven. Many organizers, like college students, teenagers, people in their early 20s, figures like John Lewis, Diane Nash, Bob Moses, Fannie Lou Hamer, Stokely Carmichael became major voices. Why SNCC became so influential. SNCC helped transform the movement from symbolic protest into deep grassroots political organizing. They were often willing to go into the most dangerous rural areas where national leaders rarely stayed long term. Their work helped lay groundwork for the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, of which both of these right now today are there. The fight, we're back at that fight again because they're trying to cut all of this. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Here we are back at square one again. Standing up for our right to vote, standing up for our civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
Tensions between SNCC and King's movement. King's organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, and SNCC often cooperated, but there were tensions. SNCC activists sometimes felt that SLC focused too much on media and famous leaders, and that local organizers did the hardest, dangerous work without recognition. Meanwhile, some older leaders worried SNCC was too decentralized, too important, and too radical. By the late 1960s, SNCC also became more militant and moved away from interracial organizing and strict nonviolence. Ella Baker's lasting influence. Today, many modern grassroots movements reflect Baker's ideas more than people realize. Decentralized leadership, community organizing, mutual aid, youth activism, and leaderful movements instead of leader-centered movements. Her influence can be seen far beyond the civil rights era. Baker criticized some male leaderships in the civil rights movement because she believed too much power was concentrated in the hands of charismatic men, especially ministers, while the labor, intelligence, and leadership of ordinary people, practically women, were often overlooked. Her criticism was not simply against men, it was about hierarchy, ego, sexism, and how movements function best. The context, okay? We'll stop right there so you can comment on that, Will, if you would like to. But yeah, her criticism against men, it was kind of strong to me, if you ask me, because the man should actually be the leader. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how God, that's the rule of God. The man is the head over the woman. And so her speaking out, and I have to speak up as a saved woman because I love the Lord Jesus Christ and I'm going to be obedient to his word. But as a saved woman, the man should be the head. He should be the first partaker of whatever the movement is all about, whether it's the voting rights, the civil rights that we're fighting for, or what not have you, okay? And it doesn't mean that just because women are in the background, I'm a background person. I like to do things in the background. I really don't like to be in the forefront where I'm getting all the attention. But it's nice to give women attention sometime and at least give honor to the women that are helping out to push forth the movement. We're all in this together, okay? And that's the thing that we have to remember, that, you know, together we stand and divided we fall, okay? So let's not allow our differences or friction to come between us when we're trying to get the work done, when we're trying to work together to get this thing with the voters' right, the voting rights, and also the thing with the civil rights back on the board, okay? Else we're gonna end up not getting anywhere, okay?
You know, I think that's the thing that really upsets me today. Black people cannot work with black people. She has a right to criticize, but I think that the criticism should have been kept internal.
Yes, I agree.
We should have, and even today, we are not going to all agree, but I think we should provide a unified front.
Yes,
so
come
the
on.
white supremacists don't see. When I see the African diaspora, when I see Savvy Sav, when I see others going against, while others like Augusta Corbett and Tabitha Speaks Politics and Roland Martin and Reese Waters, and they want to say, we should be together, and then if we have a problem, then keep that internal.
I agree.
Keep that internal. Don't let, that's what the white supremacists and the white people, they thrive on, seeing us fighting one another.
That's right.
Our thing should be, hey, we are for black are equal. We built this country. We deserve the piece of the pie.
Yes.
And we're not getting it, and so we're going to fight to get it. Now, the way that we do it in a unified front, so they know we are sticking together.
That's right.
But if you have something, then you should keep it internal.
I
And that's the
agree.
way I agree with that.
I agree with
That's
you.
the way I feel about that.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Will, for that. That was very good.
And all of them are welcome to come on our show. We welcome you to come. All we ask
Yes,
is you
we
don't
do.
cuss.
Yes.
But I would love to have a conversation with all of y'all.
Yes.
Because there's some things that I agree with, and there's a few of those that I mentioned that I don't agree with it. But I would love for them to come on our show and do an interview with us. We ain't got no money, so I don't know if y'all want money to do it, but I'm sure we're just trying to start up. But we would love to have all y'all
Yes.
to come at one time and sit down and have a discussion. I would like to have all y'all on at once, where I would moderate and just have a discussion. So
I agree
think
with
about
you.
it.
That's right. Thank you,
Okay.
Will. Okay, so we're going to go on and finish this up so we can turn it into Will's hands because he's going to take the reins for the next part, which is the current event. It says the context, the Black church and male leadership. Many major civil rights organizations grew out of the Black church. That meant leadership was often male, clergy-centered, and highly hierarchical. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Ralph Abernathy, and Fred Shuttlesworth were ministers and became public faces of the movement. Women, meanwhile, often organized meetings, raised money, housed activists, coordinated logistics, taught strategy, built local networks, and sustained campaigns behind the scenes. But they frequently received less recognition and less authority. And Baker saw this clearly. Baker's main criticism was the Messiah problem. And of course, my husband already brought that out. Dr. Martin Luther King never felt that he was anybody's Messiah. So that part of that, I don't know how she came to that conclusion about that, but that was her thought. One of the Baker's most famous concerns was what she called the movement's tendency to create messiahs. She worried that people became overly dependent on famous leaders. Her concern was if one leader falls, the movement weakens. She believed real power had to be spread among ordinary people, and this was one reason she pushed students to create Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or the SNCC, independently rather than under elder male-led organizations. Now, I'm going to stop right there because, again, like I said, we first saved, okay? We love the Lord Jesus Christ. And so in the Word of God, when you read the Word of God, you will see how that, if we go to 1 John, it says that God called the old men because they're wise and they know the way. He called the young men because they are strong, okay? So it's the difference in the younger versus the older, Will. And that is the fact that if you go to Africa, you'll see a lot of the younger people sit under the teachings of their elders, and they respect their elders in Africa. Okay, I've never seen so many disrespectful, bratty kids here in America in my life, you know. But you have kids that slap their parents in the face. They disrespectful. They don't want to hear nothing, listen to anything. You know, this is the generation that we live in here in America. But in Africa, they have their children sit and listen to their elders and learn and gain wisdom. Okay? And they respect their elders. And so, see, there's a place for our young people. Yes, I agree with her that it's good to train up a child in the way that they are to go. And when they're old, they will not depart from it. Okay? But it's the older people's job to train up the younger generation, to instill in them good morals, good values, good teachings, and wisdom that they can carry for a lifetime. Okay? Okay. Anything you want to say on that one?
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
So it says that women were doing much of the work, and Baker saw women carrying enormous responsibility while men received public credit. For example, women organized carpools during the Montgomery bus boycott. Women coordinated churches and local networks. Women housed activists at great personal risk. Women trained young organizers. Yet newspapers and history books often focus almost entirely on male speakers and ministers. Baker believed this distorted how movements actually worked. All right. Leadership should be participatory. I said it.
Good job.
Baker believed movements should be built from the bottom up, not directed from the top down. She disliked leadership styles where decisions came from a small inner circles. Ordinary people were expected mainly to follow, and criticism of leaders was discouraged. Instead, she promoted what became known as participatory democracy, which entailed shared decision making, local leadership, and collective organizing. This approach heavily shaped SNCC. She thought some male leaders were too concerned with public image. As Baker sometimes felt, certain leaders became overly tied to media attention, speeches, celebrity, and organizational prestige. She respected King's gifts, but she believed movements require more than inspirational public leadership. She emphasized patient organizing, listening, relationship building, and developing new leaders. Her focus was long-term power, not only dramatic public moments. Baker and sexism in the movement. Sexism existed even inside movements fighting racial justice. Women activists sometimes found men dominated meetings. Women were expected to handle support roles, and women's strategic ideas were ignored until repeated by men. Some younger SNCC women later challenged this culture openly. People like Diane Nash, Septima Poinsett, I think it's Poinsett Clark, and Fannie Lou Hamer became major leaders despite barriers. Baker encouraged women to step into leadership and believed movements were stronger when leadership was broadly shared. Now, I got a last little thing on this part, and then a lot of what we just heard, again, by me being a saved woman of God, we have to do it the way God set up. God has an order. And so I think a lot of these women in these movements probably got out of order when it came to them helping out and doing their part. So I'm going to keep that to myself, because I know there are women today that don't believe that. We have women out here that say, I can do what a man can do. And you go right ahead, sister, if you feel like you can do what a man can do, because that's what we messed up at. Anyhow, God has an order. And so it doesn't mean that we are not being noticed. God sees everything that we do, and it's He that rewards us, okay, for what we do that's good, even if we don't get the recognition, okay? So an important nuance. Baker did not reject strong leaders entirely. She worked with many male leaders and respected many of them deeply. Her argument was more structural. Movements should not revolve around personalities. Leadership should be accountable, and ordinary people must develop confidence in their own power. That philosophy became one of her greatest legacies. Why her critique still matters. Baker's ideas continue influencing modern organizing today, especially around questions like, should movements have one central leader? How do movements avoid hero worship? How can women and grassroots organizers receive equal recognition? And how do organizations share power fairly? Her work helped redefine leadership itself, not as commanding people from above, but helping people discover their own ability to lead. Okay, so that's our story on Ella Baker today. And you have anything you would like to add to that, Will?
No, that was, like I said, women, I've often said when I preach that women are the backbone of the church.
Yes.
They're there most of the time when men are not there. But God does have an order, and the men should be stepping up.
Yes, come
and
on.
Thank God we have the men stepping up. Unfortunately, we don't have that today. The men, we need more men stepping up today.
Yes, come on.
And that's one of the problems that we have. And so I agree with what you said.
Yes.
There's an order of things. The women should be respected.
That's right.
No doubt about it. However, God should be given the glory more in the way that He wants things done, or the way things should be done.
Yeah, it doesn't make us it doesn't make a woman who is submissive or who's participatory, as the word that Ella Baker used, in a movement trying to get something done, it doesn't make us any less than that man that's, standing up in front of the audience, giving the speeches and what have you. It don't make us any less that we're behind doing the work behind the scenes, okay? And so that's
we need that.
Yes, that's what we have to remember. So before I turn it
I
over,
also want to add, if I may,
yes,
in 1967, Baker returned to New York City where she continued her activism. Baker also supported the Puerto Rican independence movement and spoke out against the apartheid in South Africa. She allied with a number of women's groups, including the World's Women's Legion Alliance and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom.
yes,
And she remained an activist until her death. And we mentioned it was the same day that she was born, December 13th, 1986, and that was her 83rd birthday.
that's good information. Thank you. Before I turn it over to Will, and he's going to take us into our current event for this evening, we have 3 things to remember, okay? The first thing to remember while we're trying to come together to organize, to mobilize, and to get out here and to take a stand for our rights and our civil, our freedoms, and for our right to vote. We need to stay focus oriented and purpose driven. Stay focus oriented and purpose driven. Don't go off on the deep end about who's getting more recognition than who. Stay focused on what it is we're trying to accomplish and stay purpose driven. Number 2, respect each other's viewpoints. Work together by finding common ground. We can work together and respect one another's viewpoints, even though we may not agree. We can agree to disagree, but still work together by finding that common ground, okay? Because we're all shooting for the same goal. And number 3, don't be a spectator. Be a willing participant for the good of the movement. Don't be somebody that you see what's happening, you see what's going on with our black people here in America. I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're Puerto Rican, Mexican, Indian, Asian. If you see what's happening in America with this government trying to attack black civil rights, trying to attack our voting rights, you need to stand with us. Stand in solidarity with us, okay? We can't fight this fight alone.
Mm-hmm.
So when the last one,
Yeah, you did.
thank you,
Yeah.
was don't be a spectator, be a willing participant for the good of the movement, okay? So join us in the fight. And then last of all, we're going to do Ella Baker's quotes. The first one is, quote, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes," unquote. The second quote is, quote, "I didn't break the rules, but I challenged the rules." And then the third quote of Ella Baker's tonight is, quote, "When I came out of the Depression, I came out of it with a different point of view as to what constituted success. And that was just even personal success," unquote. Now we're going to turn it over to Will, and he's going to take us to our current event. Will.
Well, that definitely was a good lesson on Miss Ella Baker.
Yes.
And we hope that it takes to heart that people will see one of the many people that have given their life and their commitment
Yes.
to the civil rights and to especially our voting rights. And that leads us into our current event topic tonight. And of course, last week the Supreme Court made the decision to gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And so our southern states, well, a lot of states, but our southern
Yes.
states wasted no time, because that to them was a permission to silence black people. And any chance they can do to disrespect black people and do it and to make it feel, should I say, comfortable for them without the guilt. Now they can say, well, the Supreme Court, they're the one that said this. And of course they're lying, saying, well, we can't do it on race. Well, it's been all about race all along.
Yes.
And this is what this is about.
That's right.
And so we look at first the state of Alabama, and that governor there, of course, I don't know what she is, But she celebrated it and said that they are going to now have a special election to use the maps that they had for 2023 that they drew up that was ruled unconstitutional. But now that the Supreme Court has made this ruling, now they're able to use those maps,
Wow.
which they take away districts from black people, which it doesn't take away the right to vote, but it does take away the representation,
Yes.
basically, that they have, and also the representation for the Democrats. So they're setting that up supposedly for August. Now they're presently going, and they're voting now in Alabama, and their primary is next Tuesday the 19th, but they're going to have a special election up. She's saying it's going to be August so that they can redistrict these maps to disenfranchise black voters. We head on down to Tennessee. We see where the Tennessee Democratic lawmakers on the House of Representatives, and they're saying they're going to do it on the Senate side too, are being stripped of their committee positions because they stood up when the Supreme Court made that ruling and Tennessee came and took away the Memphis map, the district, and cut it down to just one district. Those Democratic lawmakers, black and white, but mostly the blacks is who they're showing. They locked arms together and it was in the aisles. They had the little bullhorn and they protested that decision. And so that led to, of course, the Republican House president and the Senate president, both Republicans, saying that they're going to strip them of their committee positions because they disobeyed and went against the decor. They used any reason they could. They had a right to protest, but a lot of them said they would do it again. They would protest because this is wrong.
Yes,
So that's what you saw, that as they were protesting and locking arms, you saw on TV that they were escorted out by the state police because they were protesting the decision of the Tennessee legislature to take away those black voting districts in the gerrymandering. Now, Louisiana, we heard what happened there. As soon as the Supreme Court made their ruling there, Louisiana was in the middle of their election, and the governor there, he called it a state of emergency, and he stopped the election so that they could redistrict and get rid of the black district. They want to eliminate one black district so that it would be a 5-1 advantage for the Republicans. It's already 4-2 now. And they want to make it a 5-1 advantage. And he did not understand that they are trying to recall him now because of what he did. He did that under the order of Donald Trump. And he listened to Donald Trump and he stopped the election. So those people who already voted, their votes didn't count. And they just eliminated them. So that's what's happening in Louisiana. Now in South Carolina, the state representatives just got word that they decided they were trying to take away Jim Clyburn's district, but they came out and decided not to do that for now. One thing about Republicans, you can't trust them. They lie. They change day by day.
Yes,
but as of today, as I looked at it, in South Carolina, they decided, now they tried to take away Jim Clyburn's district, but they decided not to do that. Some Republicans said no. They voted with Democrats that said no, not to take away his district. So we'll see what's going on with that. So that's the update on those. We'll see what happens. We still don't know about Virginia, what they're going to do. The people voted on there, but because it's Democratic, then there's a difference. And so the Virginia State Supreme Court, they forbid it. They struck it down. So from what I understand, the Democrats are going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. If the U.S. Supreme Court is consistent, like they're supposed to be, if they ruled the way they did for the Republican states, then they should rule in favor of Virginia being redistricted the way the people voted.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be. So we'll see what happens. All right, so Roland Martin had an ad on his show, and I'm saying quote because this is from Roland Martin's show. and Roland. And also, I didn't want to forget Willie D in that conversation. We'd love to have you
Yes.
on there too,
Yes.
Willie D. We just ask that y'all don't cuss, okay? Okay, y'all can cuss on your show. You can do that, but we just ask that we don't do that on our show. Yeah, but we'd be more than happy to have
I'm
you.
going to turn you this way so you can read it out loud.
Okay, yeah.
If you would, I appreciate
I'll read it here.
Okay, there you go.
The ad said, quote, they've been trying to erase black political power since Reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Supreme Court is helping them to finish the job. First came Shelby County versus Holder in 2013. The ruling gutted the Voters' Right Act. Second came the Bernovic in 2021, another ruling in voter restrictions in Arizona, Bernovic versus the Democratic National Committee. Third now is Louisiana versus Collins, of which case the civil rights leaders warned that could cripple the last major federal protection against racial vote delusion, and within days, Tennessee eliminated its only majority black congressional district. Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, the same strategy is spreading across the South. The old Jim Crow used poll taxes and literacy tests. The new Jim Crow is using gerrymandering maps, voter poll purges, polling place closures, and court rulings that make that makes black communities politically invisible. However, this story does not have to end in the courtroom. So the big announcement, that's unquote. The big announcement is on May 16th, 2026 at 9 a.m., a National Day of Action for Voting Rights mass rally, All Roads Lead to the South, will be held at 9 a.m. at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, 1 p.m. mass rally at Alabama's Capitol. For more information, go to Roland Martin's website, YouTube page, and pull up KKK White Supremacist Agenda, Justin Jones sounds alarm on MAGA voting power. So go there and get some information, and we'll look and keep an eye out on that march to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And then at 9 a.m. and at 1 p.m. they're going to go to the Alabama Capitol, and they're going to have a protest.
And I will put that in. I'll put that information in our description so you guys can go there and look at that again, and then go over to Roland Martin on YouTube, and then you can hear what Justice Jones is talking about, and get more information on the march. But if you can go, please be a part of that march. We're asking everybody whose heart is willing to stand with African American people here in America, our own black people. It's time for us to gather together. It's time for us to come together. Yes, and stand up for our rights, our civil rights, our voters' rights that our ancestors fought and bled and died for many, many years ago. And here we are back in this same fight. And so we need y'all. We need every hand on deck. We need all the help we can get. We need the black and brown people, white people. Like I said, I don't care who you are. If you know this is wrong, of which it is, then we need to stand up and we need to protest. I'm not saying get out here and act a fool. I'm not saying get out here and act unseemly. I'm saying it's time for us to stand up and execute our rights here in America. We have a right to a peaceful protest. We have a right to stand up and speak out against what this administration, what these people are doing, as far as behind the scenes with Stephen Miller and all the rest of them. And I call them out every time, every chance I get, because that's who's pushing all this Project 2025 up on not just black people, but on American people in general. So it is time for us to stand up. It's time for us to march. It's time for us to protest. It's time for us to speak out. Call your representatives. Get busy doing something. Yes, do your part. Know where you're supposed to stand and stand and do your part. All right, we're doing this together as one people. So back to Will.
So that's our show tonight. Make sure to join us next week at 6:30 for Will and Sharr's Face of Truth. Also on Facebook, join us this Sunday at 11:30 to 11:45 for our Sunday morning worship service at True Apostolic Holiness Church. And also next Tuesday at 7 p.m., Bible study on Fire for Jesus, where we will be in the 6th and 7th division of the book of Psalms. So, thank y'all for joining us. I'm Will. This is Sharr. This is In the
Yeah.
Face of Truth. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you, Lord willing, Sunday morning.
Stand for righteousness and justice, not for wickedness.
Thanks to all those that joined us tonight. If you like what you heard, hit that like button and subscribe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.